Boris Johnson has reassured the public that the Queen is very well after seeing her last week. The Prime Minister gave an update on the 95-year-old monarch's health in a Downing Street conference on Sunday evening after she missed the Remembrance Sunday ceremony today for the first time in 22 years due to a back injury. Buckingham Palace said she made the decision not to attend the service at the Cenotaph in London on Sunday morning with great regret and was disappointed to miss the event. Speaking at the conference, Mr. Johnson said, "I know that everybody will be wanting to offer their best wishes to Her Majesty the Queen. I just want to reassure everybody by saying that I did see the Queen for an audience last week on Wednesday in Windsor and she is very well. It shouldn't need saying, but I just wanted to say it anyway." The daily list of official royal engagements showed that Mr. Johnson had an audience with the Queen on Friday, as he was in Glasgow on Wednesday speaking at the COP26 Climate Change Summit. Queen Elizabeth had planned on attending the Remembrance Day service at the Cenotaph in London on Sunday, and it would have marked her first in-person public engagement since she was advised to rest following a night in hospital last month. It is understood the Queen's back sprain is unrelated to her doctor's recent advice to rest. Buckingham Palace said the Queen, having sprained her back, has decided this morning with great regret that she will not be able to attend today's Remembrance Sunday service at the Cenotaph. Her Majesty is disappointed that she will miss the service, as in previous years, a wreath will be laid on Her Majesty's behalf by the Prince of Wales. His Royal Highness, along with the Duchess of Cornwall, the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge, the Earl and Countess of Wessex, the Princess Royal and Vice Admiral Sir Tim Lawrence, the Duke and Duchess of Gloucester, the Duke of Kent and Princess Alexandra will be present at the Cenotaph today as planned. The event on Whitehall was given added poignancy by a return to pre-pandemic numbers of participating veterans and military, as well as onlookers. The Prince of Wales and Prime Minister were among those laying a wreath at the War Memorial for the National Service of Remembrance. Boris Johnson, who appeared somber as he laid a wreath, said it was a moment to come together to remember those who sacrificed everything in service of our country. Only the rustling of leaves and the chirping of birds could be heard as thousands of people held the 2-minute silence at 11 a.m. in honor of all those who have lost their lives in conflict. Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer stood beside the Prime Minister while former Prime Ministers lined up behind Mr. Johnson, with John Major, Tony Blair, Gordon Brown, David Cameron and Theresa May all paying their respects. The Duke of Cambridge, Earl of Wessex and Princess Royal also laid wreaths at the memorial. Looking on from a balcony of the Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office building were the Duchess of Cornwall, Duchess of Cambridge and Countess of Wessex. The Queen is said to be deeply disappointed to miss the service, which she regards as one of the most significant engagements of the year, and she hopes to continue as planned with her schedule of light official duties next week. The monarch, who served in World War II as an army driver and mechanic, was due to watch the service at the War Memorial in central London from the balcony of the Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office building. Her attendance at the service was confirmed by the palace on Thursday after she was ordered to rest by royal doctors just over 3 weeks ago and spent a night in hospital on October 20 undergoing preliminary tests. The palace had previously said it was the Queen's firm intention to attend the annual wreath-laying service in Whitehall. The monarch, who lived through the Second World War as a teenager, is head of the armed forces and attaches great importance to the poignant service and to commemorating the sacrifices made by fallen servicemen and women. She started the Second World War as a schoolgirl but ended it in uniform as a junior commander with the Auxiliary Territorial Service. The Queen has missed several other events, including the Festival of Remembrance at the Royal Albert Hall on Saturday evening. She returned to Windsor Castle on Tuesday after a long-planned weekend away at her Sandringham estate in Norfolk. The Queen has only missed 6 other cenotaph ceremonies during her reign, on 4 occasions when she was on overseas visits to Ghana in 1961, Brazil in 1968, Kenya in 1983 and South Africa in 1999. She was not present during the 1959 and 1963 services as she was pregnant with her 2 youngest children. The world's oldest and longest reigning monarch went to hospital for preliminary investigations into an unspecified ailment, and has since missed events such as the COP26 climate conference and a festival to remember the nation's war dead on Saturday evening. While the Queen has been photographed greeting dignitaries online, the palace had said the 95-year-old was determined to appear in person at the Cenotaph, where members of the royal family will join leading members of the government, military and veterans to commemorate those who lost their lives in conflict. Held on the nearest Sunday to November 11 to recall the end of World War I, the sight of the Queen at the annual event is one of the defining images of her 69-year reign, head bowed, wearing black and displaying a red poppy. Despite earlier health concerns, the palace had confirmed the Queen would attend the annual Remembrance Day service at the Cenotaph. On Sunday it had been planned that she would watch the service from the balcony of the Foreign Office in central London while her son and heir to the throne Prince Charles lays a wreath on her behalf. Elizabeth was due to appear at the event for the first time since her husband of more than 7 decades, Prince Philip, died earlier this year. The Queen was forced to cancel a 2-day visit to Northern Ireland at the last minute 3 weeks ago after being ordered to rest by doctors following a slew of public engagements. It later emerged that she had been in hospital overnight for preliminary investigations, although palace official declined to comment on what these might be. She has since been ordered to rest for at least another fortnight, but the monarch had stated that it was her firm intention to be at the Cenotaph for the traditional Remembrance Sunday event, one of the most sacred events in her annual calendar. The Prince of Wales and the Duchess of Cornwall led the diminished family group at the Festival of Remembrance at the Royal Albert Hall in London last night, but the Queen was not in attendance. They were joined by Prince William, the Earl and Countess of Wessex, Prince and Princess Michael of Kent, the Princess Royal and Vice Admiral Sir Timothy Lawrence, the Duke and Duchess of Gloucester, and the Duke of Kent and Princess Alexandra. The Queen had spent last weekend at Sandringham while she has some time off amid her determination to be fit for Remembrance Sunday. Penny Junor, a royal biographer, said the Queen may be entering a new phase of her reign where she will not be seen as much in public. It's very sad for the Queen, because this is the one event in the year that she really likes to be at, she said. We're so used to seeing her out and about and looking years younger than she is that I think we've been lulled into thinking she can go on at this kind of pace forever. Clearly she can't. Palace insider Robert Jobson told GB News that the day would be emotional for the Queen and that she would have very poignant memories as the only living head of state who served in World War II. He said, because, of course, the loss of her husband in April, he was a veteran who served in the Royal Navy with distinction and was mentioned in dispatches over the Battle of Matapan, and so it's going to be quite emotional I think for her. I wouldn't be surprised if we see her wipe away a tear because it'll be quite an emotional occasion. Last month, she was secretly taken to the private King Edward VII Hospital in London. Royal aides have only said that the trip was for preliminary investigations with the exact reason for the trip still unknown. At the time, the Prime Minister said that the Queen was in good spirits when they held their regular weekly audience. Doctors will reassess the monarch at the end of her recommended fortnight of rest, with it likely that her diary could be affected for some time to come. The Queen's eagerness to get out and about as soon as possible will ultimately be overshadowed by what her doctors think is best. This will leave other senior royals, especially the Prince of Wales, having to attend more engagements on her behalf whenever possible. Concerns about the Queen, who has recently been seen using a walking stick at events for the first time, were triggered last month when she cancelled a two-day tour to Northern Ireland. The decision came just hours before she was due to fly, and despite aides saying she stayed at Windsor Castle, she was later whisked to hospital for her first overnight stay for 8 years. On Monday last week, the Queen was photographed driving close to Windsor Castle in Berkshire in a green estate car, wearing a signature headscarf and a pair of sunglasses. During her message to world leaders at COP26 last Monday, the Queen issued a powerful plea to them over the climate crisis, saying they should put aside division and act now for the sake of our children. Service personnel attending the ceremony at the Cenotaph wished the Queen well. Lance Corporal May Percival said, "My heart goes out to her and her family. I wish her well and the best." RAF Nurse Officer Stephen Andor said, "I wish her well. The Queen has very strong links to the military, she is the head of the armed forces. I think that every single member of the military wishes her well." Royal Navy Petty Officer Ben Shred, of the Combat Camera Team, said, "It would be nice if the boss was here. Shush is the head of the armed services. I don't know if she has ever missed the Remembrance Parade before. So, if there is a reason she is not here, it must be a very serious one. We all wish her well." Baroness Scotland, the Commonwealth Secretary-General, said there would be sadness that the Queen has had to pull out of attending the service. Asked on Sky News' Trevor Phillips on Sunday programme if it would be disappointing for many veterans not to have the monarch able to attend, Baroness Scotland said, "Absolutely. The Queen is adored, rightly, she has shown total commitment to the Commonwealth and she is much loved. So, an opportunity like this, to see her and to pay homage for what she herself also did, because people do forget that she was an engineer, she was making her contribution as well. I think there will be a lot of sadness, but everyone will be wishing her well, everyone will want to see her again. She is the beating heart of most of the love that is in the Commonwealth, so we do wish her well." Royal Navy Petty Officer Ben Shred, of the Combat Camera Team, said, "It would be nice if the boss was here. Shush is the head of the armed services. I don't know if she has ever missed the Remembrance Parade before. So, if there is a reason she is not here, it must be a very serious one. We all wish her well." The oldest and youngest people marching at the Remembrance Sunday Parade at the Cenotaph have a gap of 90 years between them. Veteran Roy Farmiloe, 98, is the oldest person at the parade, while Evie Hebden was one of a number of 8-year-olds marching with the new youth column, christened Column Y. Evie's father, Royal Marine Ralph Hebden, 32, fell from a foggy cliff while going for a run near their home in Arbroath, Scotland in 2013. The tragic accident occurred days before Evie's birth, the Liverpool Echo reported at the time. Ralph was described at the inquest into his death as a proud Marine who had served 5 tours of duty. Scottish First Minister Nicola Sturgeon led remembrance services across the rest of the UK and laid a wreath to remember the fallen in war in a ceremony at Edinburgh's Stone of Remembrance on the Royal Mile. The Lord Provost's wreath-laying party joined the military parade before the gun was fired, at Edinburgh Castle, on the dot of 11 a.m. to mark the start of the 2-minute silence. At 11:02 a.m. a second gun ended the silence and a bugler played the last post. Minister of St. Giles Cathedral Reverend Callum MacLeod read Bunyan's lines, "They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. The age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn, at the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them." Lord Provost of the City of Edinburgh Frank Ross laid his wreath at the Stone of Remembrance followed by Ms Sturgeon and Scottish Parliament Presiding Officer Alison Johnston MSP. Meanwhile, Irish Premier Michael Martin lay a wreath to mark Remembrance Day at a service in Enniskillen. Michael Martin continued a tradition begun by former Taoiseach Enda Kenny in 2012 by attending the commemorative event in the County Fermanagh town. Mr. Martin laid a laurel wreath at the War Memorial on a foggy Sunday morning before standing in silence to pay his respects. He was joined by Northern Ireland Education Minister Michelle McIlveen. Speaking afterward, Mr. Martin said, "I'm very pleased to be here on Remembrance Sunday, in Enniskillen, in particular. I'm carrying on now a tradition that has gone on quite a number of years, in terms of the successive Taoiseach coming to this location. In terms of remembering those who died in past wars, and also what's coming to mind is the terrible atrocity of 1987 in Enniskillen, when 12 people were killed and 60 injured. It calls to mind the futility of destruction and violence, and the impact that it had on this community and so many communities on the island. That speaks to the need for ongoing work, to reconcile, to work together, to bring together the different traditions on the island, to share the agenda for the future." Former Northern Ireland First Minister Arlene Foster, a native of Enniskillen, attended the event in a private capacity. She stood alongside relatives of those killed in the Poppy Day massacre of 1987, at the Clinton Center, the location where the bomb that killed 12 people went off. Conservative MP and Northern Ireland Minister of State, Conor Burns, was also in attendance. Wreaths were laid by dignitaries from the British Army, the emergency services and representatives from US and Polish consuls. Hundreds of people turned out to mark the occasion on Sunday, after numbers were restricted last year due to the pandemic. The event took place 34 years on from the IRA's infamous Poppy Day bomb attack at the Enniskillen War Memorial. 11 people who had gathered to pay respects to the war dead were killed and dozens more were injured in the no-warning blast in 1987 just minutes before the event was due to start. A 12th victim of the bombing died 13 years later having never woken from a coma. Mr. Kenny became the first Taoiseach to attend a Remembrance Day service in Northern Ireland when he took part in commemorations at Enniskillen in 2012. That move was symbolic of the greater recognition now afforded in the Republic of Ireland to those Irishmen who fought and died serving in the British Army in the First World War.